A single tassel spun in the Duke of Wellington's oak-panelled office and, in that tiny circle of mischief, the most rehearsed pageant on earth tipped off balance. 7-year-old Prince Louis, cheeks sunburned pink, had found the blind cord, twirled it like a lasso, and flashed a grin so contagious that even Duchess Sophie bit her lip to keep the giggle inside. London's Trooping the Colour was barely 15 minutes old, yet the sovereign's birthday parade already belonged to a boy who still confuses his left shoe for his right. You could feel the tremor ripple outward from the creak of that tassel to the ranks of scarlet tunics braced along Horseguards parade. Somewhere in the throng of 100,000 onlookers a teenager whispered, "Did you see Louis?" A grandmother shushed him, then craned for a better view herself. Thunderclouds of anticipation built long before the cannon salute. Everyone sensed today's headlines would be written by the smallest royal in the Ascot landau rather than the king who sat a horse 3 carriages ahead. Yet the day, like every trooping since 1748, began with the colour itself. A single square of silk, deep crimson, heavy with battle honours, floated through the infantry ranks so each soldier could claim it as lodestar. In George II's time men memorised those stitches so smoke-filled fields didn't swallow their bearings. Now the ceremony marks a different battlefield, a public square where monarchy fights irrelevance with theatre. King Charles understands that truth better than anyone, which is why, despite last year's cancer scare, he rejected the safe comfort of a carriage and swung into the saddle of his coal-black charger, Derby. The message needed no speech: I can still ride. I can still reign. If Charles projected resilience, the crowd mirrored it in cheers. Behind him trotted Prince William in Welsh Guards scarlet, future meeting present in a silent handshake. Cameras feasted on the symmetry, yet they lingered just a beat longer on the teal flash that followed, Princess Catherine gliding through sunbeams beside Charlotte, both wearing near-identical coats that tipped a hat to the regimental plume. Fashion editors would spend afternoon columns decoding that duet of colour. The internet preferred the next carriage. There sat George, Charlotte, and Louis, history in miniature. George, 11, shoulders squared by invisible textbooks of future duty. Charlotte, 10, spine straight, eyes alert, a conductor ready to snap the rhythm of ceremony into line. Louis, pure kinetic confetti. He bounced, waved, abandoned one wave for an exaggerated salute, then collapsed backward in mock exhaustion. George leaned in, murmured something brotherly, and Louis answered with a grin wider than St. James's Park. That grin carried straight to the palace press office, where aides braced for another viral storm. The route down the mall shimmered in June heat. Painted red asphalt glowed beneath hooves polished to mirror shine, 1,212 soldiers stitched perfect diagonals across gravel, 308 musicians layered fife over drum in crescendos timed to the king's heartbeat. Yet even the massed bands had to compete with the hush that fell for the minute-long silence. Black armbands framed every uniform, monarch, guardsman, pageboy, in respect for the 241 souls lost in the Air India crash 3 nights earlier. The parade stilled, flags drooped, Louis's hands, restless all morning, folded without instruction. Grief and majesty shared the same stage, proving pageantry has room for both. Silence dissolved into applause, and drumbeat thrust the day forward. Back inside that wood-panelled office, Sophie of Edinburgh recovered her composure and resumed an impromptu history lesson. Louis pretended to listen, eyes drifting to the chord once more, paused, thought better, tucked his fingers under his thigh. Sophie rewarded him with a conspiratorial wink. Just meters away, Charlotte tapped a polished shoe against the floorboards, matching the Coldstream Guards' 120-beat march outside, discipline disguised as play. Then came the balcony, the finale that turns tradition into global live stream. The King and Queen emerged first, waving in unison. William and Catherine followed, bringing with them the electricity of continuity. When George, Charlotte, and Louis stepped into the light, a surge rolled through the crowd like stadium floodlights switching on at dusk. Louis gazed skyward, already hunting jets rumbling in the distance. The red arrows burst over Buckingham Palace in a perfect diamond, their plumes of red, white, and blue now cut 50% with sustainable aviation fuel, a headline Charles had insisted land in the show notes. The moment the last hawk cleared the rooftop, Louis launched a salute so vigorous his elbow jolted upward like a javelin. This time George moved with stealthy precision, anchoring his brother's arm without breaking his own faultless wave. Cameras caught the save, TikTok framed it before the echo of jet engines faded, and a new meme, Future King meets Future Meme, was born. Charlotte, ever the metronome, slipped between them, placing one hand on each sibling's back, a gentle reminder that unity photographs better than chaos. 3 smiles aligned, 3 royal signatures captured in a single shutter click. Down on the mall, strangers hugged. Up in the press gallery, veteran correspondents grinned despite themselves. It turns out monarchy sells best when it looks a little like everyone else's family, siblings teasing, parents nudging, grandparents trying and failing to look strict. That appearance lasted 90 seconds. Enough. The king signaled retreat, the family vanished behind French windows, and London exhaled. Inside the palace, the debrief machine clicked into gear. Aides weighed which clip to release first: Louis's tassel tango, George's stealthy elbow save, Charlotte's timekeeper tap. The algorithm picks winners at dawn, the monarchy simply supplies raw footage. But numbers tell their own story. Support for the crown among Britons under 30 slipped to 59% last year. Analysts credit the drop to distant protocols and that unresolved rift with Harry and Meghan, whose empty balcony space spoke volumes today. Yet within an hour of the parade ending, #WaveKing and #EcoJets were trending above any political tagline. By evening, aggregate engagement across palace channels outpaced last year's coronation recap. A single child's grin, a squadron's sustainable fuel, and a horseback king proved more persuasive than pages of legislation. Soft power runs on emotion, and trooping remains its annual power surge. None of this is accidental. Charles has trimmed the roster of working royals to 10 faces that can stand shoulder to shoulder on one balcony frame. Leaner, sharper, easier to defend in budget debates. William backs the vision, already pushing for grant transparency and carbon-neutral ceremonies. Catherine curates relatability, one well-timed wink, one accessible coat, one open conversation about childhood development. Meanwhile, the children absorb it all, writing the monarchy's future playbook in real time. Louis, still buzzing from jet fumes and applause, rushed down a private corridor, skidded to a halt when he spotted his grandfather. Charles knelt stiffly, the saddle ride catching up ruffled the boy's hair, and whispered something that made Louis's grin spread wider than ever. If lip readers decode it tomorrow, expect another viral spike. If they don't, the mystery will keep the brand warm until Christmas. And so the oldest show in Britain curtain calls once more, trumpets silent, horses cooling, soldiers trading parade boots for wellies. Yet the echo lingers because trooping inhabits the nation's bloodstream, the color that leads soldiers, the pomp that sells postcards, the human slip-ups that sell authenticity. If your heart gallops at those slip-ups as much as ours, hit subscribe and ride with us through every sideways glance the Wales children cast next year. Like the video, ring the bell, and join the comments. Which moment stole your breath, the King's saddle comeback, the eco-fuel flypast, or Louis's tassel rodeo? Your take shapes our next deep dive, and we're just getting started. Somewhere beyond Green Park the last smoke ripple of the red arrows dissolves into saffron twilight, but one truth stays bright: the crown survives on spectacle, and the spectacle now speaks fluent meme. Tomorrow the color will be cased and stored, the blind cord will hang motionless, Louis will face spelling homework. Yet next June, when drums roll again, the world will tune in not just for protocol, but to see if the youngest prince can outwave his own legend.